A very good evening to everyone present and welcome to today's webinar. I am Kirtika from Asian Adventures team. Asian Adventure is a 32-year-old company dedicated to conservation travel experiences across the globe. We are the founding force behind the Global Wildlife Trade Fair that was created as a platform that brings together tourism, conservation, creativity, and dialogue around wildlife and nature. We are also proud that we initiated the Indian Wildlife Network as a collaborative platform that connects conservationists, storytellers, and nature practitioners from across the country. Let me quickly walk you through what you can expect from this webinar. Through this webinar, Sir will introduce us to the ecological importance of the Dhanauri Wetlands and their role in supporting the Sarus Project. He'll share how community-led conservation can create meaningful and lasting impact. We'll explore how conservation, livelihoods, education, and ecotourism can work together for sustainable outcomes. Sir will also discuss the vision of building 100 conservation initiatives across the Central Asian flyway. And finally, he'll highlight how individuals and communities can contribute to the wetland conservation efforts. Without much ado, I would now like to hand over the session to Mr. Mathew Joseph. Over to you, sir.
Thank you so much. Uh, let me give you a small introduction about myself. I know many of you know me, but all of you know me as a birder. So I have another life for the last 25 years when I was running large international development organizations. So I started my career with an American organization called Population Service International. Then I moved as the country director for a Canadian organization, which is called Nutrition International. Then I joined the government of India in the National AIDS Control Organization for a period of time. And again, I came back to an American organization called Pathfinder International. And thereafter, moved to another American Indian organization called the American India Foundation, where I led the country operations for almost 8 years. So that's my professional background. I've been a public health professional, and I've done programs in education, in livelihoods, in nutrition, and HIV, and various other development areas. And alongside, I was a bird photographer. I am a bird photographer, actually. So I started about 12 years ago. And very early in my, photography career, Dhanauri happened to be a location that we were early on, initiated into, and we just fell in love with that wetland. It's hardly about 1 hour away from Delhi, and right at the beginning, we found that this place cannot actually proceed unless it's protected. A lot of fellow birders and enthusiasts have tried many means to make that a protected wetland, but it didn't happen. Finally, thanks to the efforts, the government has decided to make this land into a biodiversity park, which offered some level of protection to the wetlands. But at the same time, you need the community to be part of this intervention. So I'll be talking a bit about how this entire idea came about, what was the genesis, and take you through a journey into the wetland as we go through the next 40 minutes of presentation. So what we have started is something called the Birds and Habitats Conservation Alliance. This is not an alliance of only environmental organizations or conservation organizations, but this is an alliance of all development organizations in the country. And soon we'll be moving on to Nepal, Bangladesh, Sri Lanka, and surrounding countries also. The idea behind this whole initiative is that conservation cannot be treated as a standalone subject. And how I came to realize that is on a visit to Dhanauri many years ago, when there was no government support for the land. The land was all under private ownership. I asked people, can you help us, conserve this land? Can you be part of it? Because in my 25 years of experience, I understand that the local community has to be involved in anything that has to be sustainable and lasting. When I talked to them, the answer they gave was very interesting. One of them told me that, sir, आप लोग आता है बड़ा बड़ा कैमरा लेके आता है सर, आपको बहुत happiness आता है इससे, and then you go away. For us, our priority is actually our next day's meal. Our priority is our child's health, our child's education, and there are so many youth around who need jobs. These are our daily worries, and our agriculture. Understandably, there are so many priorities at a rural level. That's standard across the country, but here it is more so because they aren't, in one of the villages having only 35% female literacy. They are relatively backward in this, as far as financial situation is concerned. Though, of course, like any place, there are rich people also in the location, but mostly they are, from a very simple background. When I heard that, I realized that this has been something that I've been doing as a career, as a profession for the last 25 years. And everybody wants, development in their village. They want to improve their family's condition. They want to look at the children. And how can, conservation, especially of birds, be even a small concern for them? That was not even there. That's when I realized that we should actually look at the community development alongside any conservation effort that we might have. And that idea actually took some time to, initiate, because I was, until last month 30th, I was heading American India Foundation, and while working, it's very difficult to, initiate things, and so, it took some time, but it's later never than, better than, never. So I spoke to like-minded organizations, brought them all together onto one platform. We have, if you can see the slide, you have Empower Trust, which is a local organization. We have Community Pure Water, which is an American organization, but based in India. They look at RO plants around the country. We have Prayatna, which is again a Noida-based organization. iForest, which is a renowned environmental organization. Krishi Vikas, Citizen Foundation. Chandragupta Institute of Management, which is a premier institution in Patna. And we have other organizations, including Chintan, which is set up by a prominent birder in Delhi. And this is only the beginning. I have about 125 applications waiting for approval to become a partner, but be very careful as to who we are bringing on board. So this alliance of NGOs, foundations, birdwatching communities, and the general birding community together is actually an it's not an organization, but a platform which looks at unprotected wetlands or unprotected habitats. We are very clear that we do not want to work in Ramsar sites or properties under the management of the Forest Department. We're looking at, unprotected IBAs. And the reason is very simple. There is a huge necessity there, a need there, while protected wetlands or, forest habitats, they have some level of protection, and also the large NGOs who are working in this space are already in there. And we thought we should look at some place where the need is higher. So the principle, as I was mentioning, is healthy habitats require empowered communities, and we want to make the community active custodians of their wetlands or other ecosystems. So this is the Sarus Project. Sarus Project is the first of 100 IBAs that we are going to take up over the next 2 years. It's about people and nature and together. This is implemented by Empower Trust, and which is one of the partners of Birds and Habitats Conservation Alliance. Many of you are birders, but there are some non-birders also in this meeting. So let me talk to you or introduce you to the Sarus crane. It is our NCR's wealth. It's the state bird of Uttar Pradesh. It's a tall bird. It's the tallest flying bird, actually. And it's stated as vulnerable, and it's a very unique bird. There's a lot that you can read about this bird. You'll understand that this is a bird that is very faithful to its mate. It's a lifetime bond that they create, and I mean there's a lot of interesting things that you can Google and read about. So this bird was so fascinating that I went almost like 30-40 times, almost every week, just to look at this bird. Photography was another part, but even watching this bird and its chicks and its mate walking around, and that's very unique. We don't see that normally, being city dwellers, and it's so near Delhi. Again, Dhanauri Wetlands. It's I think the NCR's best kept secret. Birders, of course, know it, but when I am talking to people from or colleagues from corporates or other NGOs who are not into conservation, they're saying, "Wow!" I said, "Jagah hai kya?" And then I had the opportunity to take many people to Dhanauri. In fact, I forgot to mention, I lead a birding group called the Delhi Bird Photographers. We're about 10,000 members in it, and together we have done about 360 photo walks as on date, and many of them were to this location. So this land is the secret, as I said, of the NCR, and it's mostly an agricultural area. This land belongs to 3 villages surrounding that wetland, and it's a private land actually, and it's a natural depression that's happened with rainfall and other water sources, and it just happened that it's an accident that has a large number of Sarus cranes living not only in that wetland area but also in the villages around. So there are 3 villages, Dhanauri, Tasrana, and Amipur Bangar, which border the wetland, and that's the population of about 10,000, male, female, children included. It is supposedly the largest Sarus crane congregation in India. You'll find about 300 plus birds in and around the wetland. Okay, if you go there, you might see only a few, but these are out there somewhere in the fields or surrounding locations. Last 10 days back, I saw about 70-80 of them congregating together, and we want to make sure that they live there. So Dhanauri Wetlands is a major location for birds. Annually, more than 50,000 fowls, birds actually live there, transit, or come there for the winter migration. And there are many rare birds also. About 3 are vulnerable, near threatened, and there are many more which are actually need to be protected. As I said, it's a biodiversity hotspot. There are almost 217 species that are recorded, and you find all sorts of birds inhabiting that wetland. Every season has a different mosaic that shows itself. And even in midsummer, right now, you will be seeing 100 plus, hundreds of birds that are inhabiting in that location. Of course, winter is a different story. You have large numbers of migrant birds, especially ducks and geese, coming to that wetland, and it's like almost all of Delhi's birders visit this location at least once during the season. And obviously, rainy season is again another time when lots of visitors go there, and every time they come back fascinated and mind refreshed that such a beautiful location happens to be our Delhiites' luck. So they said there are many raptors. Almost like 20 species of raptors have been found there. You have Egyptian vulture, Bonelli's eagle, and a lot of migrant eagles that come in during the winters. And water birds, yeah, it's very well known for their water birds. And apart from the Sarus crane, we have painted storks, black-necked storks, which are very vulnerable. And at this point of time, even last week, there were about 4 of them standing there in midsummer. And of course, if you spend time wandering around that location, inside and near the villages, you'll find many more species that are living there in harmony with the community and nature there. Again, I don't need to give you a lecture on why wetlands matter. The water security of the land is dependent on wetlands, climate resilience, and a large number of species of life exist in these wetlands. And human beings, about 1 billion of them, have their livelihoods based on the wetlands around them. This is a very important matter which the world is wakening up to, especially with talks of drought happening, persistent water shortages, and so we have to sustain this. We have to make sure that we leave this earth a better place for our next generation. Not just the land, but also the water, the plants, the animals, birds, and of course, the human beings there that are sustained by this ecosystem. Of course, with all these opportunities come challenges. The wetland is, under threat of, getting subsumed by development. Of course, development is very important in this world, but we have to make sure that the development does not run like a bulldozer over the wetlands. We need to keep it safe. We are not against development. It's, as I said, very essential, but we have to make sure that these oases of nature need to be preserved in its pristine stage in many locations that are, under threat around any developing metropolis. Agriculture is, again, intensive water use, again, reduces, the aquifers. And if you go to Dhanauri, the first thing that you would see is that it is almost like a dump yard. All the villagers throw their waste there. And the other day, I even came across medical waste, needles on the roadside. And of course, it had to be removed very quickly and safely. But then there are these risks, people just throw everything into that wetland. There is no designated dump yard there, and which we plan to change. And with garbage comes dogs, and all feral dogs walk around the habitat, and they target the eggs of ground-dwelling birds, and Sarus is no exception. And so we can't let that happen, right? So we have to ensure that we don't make the habitat, attractive to these dogs. A lot of disturbance. There's noise, encroachment. The last time I went, this photograph of the trucks all moving around uh, kind of broke my heart. But then, yes, something good is also coming out of it. So that's one part. Plus, the general pollution. As it is, we live in one of the most polluted regions in the world, and we have to at least make sure that these lands are spared that somehow. And Dhanauri is not a Ramsar site. A lot of efforts have been made to make it a Ramsar site, but it's fine. We have a biodiversity park coming up. This place is not under the management of forest departments, and this is not under any government. There's no panchayat also, because the land is under YEDA right now. So it's very critical that we have to get people who live in the habitat to take over the stewardship. They said healthy habitats require health-empowered communities, and conservation that ignores people cannot succeed, because that will only be there as long as the organization or NGO is there, and as long as the funds are there. And thereafter, all of it comes crashing down. But if the community is actually empowered and they can actually understand the importance of it and they benefit from it, they would be more effective than any of us in preserving their heritage. The BHCA model is very simple. It's an alliance, as I said. We believe in community well-being, health, education, nutrition, livelihoods, water, anything that benefits the community is very important. That leads to habitat protection, because they understand why we are doing it, what this is for. And they're actually taught the importance, or actually shared the importance of protecting their own lands for their own benefits. It can be a financial benefit. It can be even organizations like us coming and working with them. It's all because of the wetland and the habitat. And those skills that we impart to them and those methods that we share would lead to wildlife recovery, including nest protection and various other things that we're planning. And this leads to long-term sustainability. We will not be there. We are not forever linked to Dhanauri, right? Maybe 4 years, 5 years, 10 years. But this land needs protection for the next as many years as you can imagine. And the idea is, as I said, 100 unprotected IBS is what we're looking at, and this happens to be the first. So the project is, as I've mentioned, we're looking at conservation, livelihoods, a lot of other activities that are going on there. This is a new intervention. I'll come to that in a moment, but very clearly it's a community, and what differentiates this from current models, because if every environment or climate change or a conservation organization does work with the community, but currently most projects are looking at only financial empowerment through livelihoods or skilling and jobs and things like that. Rather, it's sustainable livelihoods which depend on the wetland for sustenance. But here, the difference is that we are looking at the entire developmental, needs. It's not just livelihoods. Livelihoods only one part. It's a quick win by getting a person a job or a livelihood. But then you have to look at the long term. Education is the only way that young children and youth grow up to have jobs that are not sustenance jobs, but actually good jobs. You want people to prosper. And that kind of education can be imbibed only by healthy children. You can't have an unhealthy, famished child topping the class. It's very difficult. You need to have good brain development. You need to have proper nutrition, energy to go through classes and become a healthy and studious child. And of course, the parents need to be taken care of. The pregnant woman needs to be taken care of. So these are the areas that we look at. We're looking at a long-term sustainable intervention. So coming to the project now, we we're looking at a Sarus Wetland Center. Many of these, you know, parts of the model have been taken from, the Sarus guideline, the Ramsar guidelines, and not every, but some of them. We try to stick as close as possible to whatever Ramsar would have got the wetland. If Ramsar would have brought in livelihoods, yes, we have livelihoods. If they're bringing in education center, we are bringing that in. If there is any funding that is required through through Ramsar, we are trying to get that funding from corporate and high net worth individuals. So even if this place doesn't have a Sarus recognition, we will try to get all that a Sarus, all that a Ramsar title would have got them. So here, one of the projects is Swachh Dhanauri, which is self-explanatory. We want to clean that place, make sure that people keep it clean, and birds and humans are not affected by the dirt, the garbage that is around. We're looking at nest protection activities. We're looking at a mobile library called Sati Pustakalaya, and thanks to those who have been donating books so kindly. We're looking at bird guide training, which will be an integral part as I will come forward. I'll explain about that. We're also looking at water hyacinth fiber, extraction and craft creation thereout. We're looking at wildlife apparel branded to the Sarus theme, which will be, made or manufactured by women in the community. We're looking at clean water. The provision of clean water for drinking purposes is very, very critical. It's a health intervention, but it's also, helps women get 24/7 water supply for their homes. There's something called Garka Khana, which just initiated. It's actually ensuring that people who come to that location have a proper, healthy meal. Many of you, if you're birders who have been to Dhanauri, would have two major problems. One is you won't get a place to even buy water, and secondly, you won't even find food that's far away. You have to go several kilometers to access a cup of tea. And the most critical one is you don't even have toilets in that wetland. So a lot of people, find it very difficult, especially women. And so we have solved that issue too. We have a community shop which will be owned by the community. Whatever products they prepare or manufacture, we are helping them get FSSAI licenses for their products, if it's a food product. And many other things like the apparel, t-shirts, all that will be, sold through these shops. We are setting up something called Digital Sahara, which is a computer center, which will be open free of cost to youth and children, students from the community. There is a children's program called Parinche, which already started, which is actually working to educate children or involve children in conservation activities. So I'll take you through a few stories. These are all stories that we hope will be coming up in the place because it's a new program. But this is the expectation that we have, because if you ask what is success, these are stories that will show what success will be. So a nest guardian, this is not a new idea. It's a very, very old idea. People have done it. This has been done in Dhanauri before also, probably not exactly the space that we are looking at, but it's been operational. And you had youth actually going around trying to identify where the nests are, how we can protect those nests, and project pays for that. So we have this. I tell my colleagues in my organization that we are shameless. If there is something good that we find being implemented by any organization, we shamelessly borrow it. We take it, because why do you need to create something new when something good has also happened? So that way, the entire program is borrowed. All the good things have been borrowed, and which is the way it should be. So we look at implementing at least 25 nests. We are not sure how many it will be, but all the nests that we can identify in the community, around the villages, in the fields, all of that will be, taken up by the program. So basically, we use GPS to mark that site. This is actually all the places around the 3 villages initially. We might move to another 2 or 3 villages which happen to be in the neighborhood, like Batta, and there are a few other villages that are located around this place that we're taking. So we monitor. We have youth who are trained on this, and they will be looking out for these eggs or these nests during the season, and we'll be trying to put up a fence around that area. We'll be talking to the farmer about a small compensation that we could give to leave that space untouched, and whatever loss that he's incurring due to not cutting the crop there or not disturbing that place will be paid. And of course, track the chick through its growth stages. Each successful nest is a conservation victory. So this is a family of Sarus cranes, and this is what we want across the wetland in the future. So community bird guides. We all of us have gone to so many sanctuaries, wetlands, and we find guides there. Some are, in the wetland, in the government system. Others are, self-taught guides, and we've depended a lot on them, because they know the local geography, they know which birds are out there, and this is what we want to create in these 3 villages. At least 10 youth will be trained on becoming a bird guide. We are working with organizations to identify how we can do that. We will provide them binoculars and field guides. They can charge 100. This is just a suggested number. It can be more, and birders who travel all the way can definitely afford such a fee. They'll be doing about 500 guided visitors, but it could be more or less. And Dhanauri is their classroom. We'll be talking about all the birds living in that location. And there are those rare species that sometimes make that rare appearance in the wetland, and they will be trained to look out for that. And we'll make sure that each guide knows at least 100 species, if not all the 200 plus species that live in that wetland. So conservation, creating livelihoods is a very important part, as I said. These guides will be sustained by, the birding community, school children. There will be corporate volunteering. This is something that I've seen a lot of corporates interested in coming in, getting their breath of fresh air in that location. And there are foreign birders also. Many of them I've taken to visit this wetland. It's become so famous that a lot of New Yorkers actually know about this wetland, thanks to many of our birder friends. So citizen science, definitely citizen science, whatever is used by the many organizations that work in conservation will be replicated here. We'll be looking at checklists. We'll be looking at, eBird and various other tools to make this a proper scientific intervention. Children, we already started working with them, as you can see in the picture. We started with a painting competition, and a lot of children we thought about 25 will join us, and about 100 children turned up. And that is a picture of a crane drawn. Somebody drew a picture of a Bengal florican. I don't know how they even came to know about that. And, gifts will be given, children will be made participating. It's a very enthusiastic group of children who have lived with those birds all their life, but they're still trying to understand what each bird is and what the name of that bird is. So this will continue. A lot of activities like bird art, field walks, nature learning, quizzes, various competitions will be held with these children. Almost about 1,200 to 1,700 children will be reached. Building awareness with the children. We have worked with these children. They're so happy to look through binoculars. I mean, they get excited if a camera comes in. They learn everything about their own heritage. As I said earlier, there is a Sati Pustakalaya. This is yet to be started. We have books coming in. Thanks to all my friends who are on this meeting, on this call. I've received boxes and boxes of books. And let me first review those before we donate more. And this mobile library will go to the homes of all the girls in the village once in 15 days and give them 2 books and collect the earlier books so that there is a reading habit established in the village. We are not going to stop boys from taking the books, but definitely we'll go to the homes of the girl children. Digital Sahara, 5 computers. Thanks to a birder who has just donated 2 computers. Thank you so much. We are setting up this computer center where basic courses will be imparted. But at the same time, youngsters can come in and use those computers for any, job interviews or any sort of exams or applying for, different occupations, whatever. They can use those computers. It's theirs. We've distributed solar lanterns thanks to the support of 2 companies, the employees of which came together to make this. We have distributed in a village, and we'll be taking more as we go forward. We do not want children to endure even a half an hour of electricity cut during their studies. We have something called a Poshan Vatika. This is also a baby initiative that we started. It's very clear that we all think that village mein bahut land hota hai, people will automatically grow their vegetables and all, but you need to talk to them about what nutrition is and which kind of vegetables are important, why it is, and all that. We're going to talk about nutrition to small children, pregnant women, new mothers, adolescent girls, and various other groups that are vulnerable in the village. As I said, we are looking at a line of garments which will be made by the women in the community. We'll be setting up a self-help group which will be having this brand. I hope that you will all buy clothes from the women of the village. We'll make sure that good quality ones are available to you. Field shirts, the kind of vests that we wear for photography, those t-shirts and caps and lots more, which will come to the market, which will be available in your groups, and also when you come to Dhanauri, you'll be able to buy them. There is a community shop which we already the shop is being set up, and it'll have everything that you require, from water to local handicrafts to souvenirs and t-shirts and snacks. Everything you'll get there. So Ghar ka khana, yeah, every time I go there now, I have some sumptuous meals in the homes of the village residents. This is the first Ghar ka khana center that we have set up, and we'll be able to have aloo parathas or anything that is local and seasonal. And of course, we'll be helping them get FSSAI license for doing this, and good water for that. Yeah, as we said, a conservation economy is created, visitors arrive, community earns. The wetland is therefore valued by the community, and the community will take care of anything that they value. This has happened at scale at Mangaljodi. Indian Grameen Services, our partner, has been part of that, wetland restoration, and I'm very happy to have them as a partner who will take this further forward. We also have started wetland cleaning, plastics and everything. We're not going into the wetland, but at least on the periphery, all these garbage. Every time we go there, a week, you get this much of garbage from even the roadside. And we're going to set up a full-fledged Safai Kendras and home-to-home collection, segregation bins, and all this plastic should be out. So the wetland that survives is the one that the community has decided to make it survive. So very clearly, it's the onus of the community, and we'll help them, we'll empower them to take on that role. I'm going a little fast because I know that I'm a little late, and yeah, so I think you get the concept, right? And This is the wetland center. We've been working on it for the last 2 months. Um, this has a 25-seater training hall, a large art gallery for photographs of good photographs of birds, and then another wall which has photographs of bird enthusiasts who happen to come there. We'll put it up, make you happy, make the villagers happy, and and be a learning experience for those who visit that center. um, and then of course we have toilets ready so that you don't need to struggle for hours when you are out birding. And of course the bird guides will operate from there. So what success looks like, this is what we are thinking. It might be more than this, slightly less than this. We are not sure at this point of time, but because we're already in June, almost June, right? So we'll try to make up for the numbers and get as much outcomes or outputs at least for this year into the possible. So corporates are interested, and I would request if any corporate leaders in this to actually look at conservation as a very important area of work. Recently, the Supreme Court's judgment, direction that CSR should include all protection for biodiversity and wildlife, makes a good case to talk to your management about including this into your CSR policy. Now, imagine if there are 100 Dhanouris coming up around the country and maybe across the Central Asian flyway and more being set up. That is the imagination that we are having. And that is something that will make it happen. And that is something that we want all of you to support us in reaching. So 100 unprotected IBAs in India itself, 100 communities like those in Dhanauri Wetlands with an economic stake, as well as health and livelihoods, everything. And bird guides and 100 Sarus centers, which will be the hubs of conservation and development, is what we are looking at. We're looking at Delhi NCR, UP, Haryana, Rajasthan, Gujarat, Maharashtra, Madhya Pradesh, Bihar, West Bengal, and Assam. For now, I'm already having inquiries from Telangana, Andhra, Kerala also, if you could come and work there. But obviously, we'll be taking a call depending on the need and the available resources. And thanks to all the NGOs who've been approaching us. It's great because these are NGOs not working in conservation. And if 100 or 200 NGOs come into this sector and start working on conservation, taking it as a priority, I'm sure that things will change for the good. So thank you for your time. And this is the time for taking questions.
Thank you so much, sir. So this is the request to the participants that in case they have any questions, please type it in the chat box and I'll be duly reading out to them. Meanwhile, if the participants can see, there are around about 6 links that have been shared. The first one is of the Global Wildlife Fair that will be taking place from 30th October to 1st November this year at the Travancore Palace, New Delhi. The second link talks about the Indian Wildlife Network, which is a newly started initiative by the Global Wildlife Fair. And in order to get in touch with storytellers related to conservation or across India, this is the platform where you need to be. Third link talks about earth walks, wherein every Sunday we carry out walks in different parts of the country, wherein you discover the natural elements, the cultural elements, the historical elements of various urban biodiversity spaces that are situated within your own city. Interesting, right? And if, like in this very webinar, we talked about the Sarus crane, and if you're interested in watching the Sarus crane in the Dhanauri Wetlands, then this is the chance for you. As tomorrow, Earthworks is organizing a walk right in the Dhanauri Wetlands, and there you'll also get a chance to meet Sir face to face. So I think, yeah, coming to the question, sir, the first question is that Okay, then what is the current scenario of the Dhanauri Wetlands?
So the scenario, if you ask administratively, the government has decided to build a biodiversity park around that wetland, and for now there is no Ramsar in sight.
Okay. So Siddharth wants to ask, has any assessment been done on how changing rainfall patterns and, and groundwater depletion may affect Sarus breeding wetlands in the coming years?
Yeah, there are studies, but I'll not be able to give you offhand. If you want to talk to, I mean, understand that more in depth, please connect with me offline so that I can, connect you to my scientists, colleagues who are working on these areas.
Okay. So Tanvay wants to ask that how are you dealing with the development pressure, especially from builders offering big money to the villagers?
See, right now there is a freeze on an acquisition of land in that region. YEDA has actually taken this. So there is no private industrialist or anybody who's trying to buy those lands. They cannot. It's all notified villages. But of course, YEDA itself will be developing that place into, I mean, not exactly the wetland, but leaving aside the land earmarked for the biodiversity park, the rest of it will be developed. But I don't think uh, that's a concern because it will be done with a lot of uh, due diligence that will be taken in that. But of course, I'm not a voice for the government. These are all things that I've read in the newspapers and I've heard from people who are there.
Sir, Gillian wants to ask how big is the area of the biodiversity park and demarcated in the exact way? What proportion of the area that needs protection falls within the park?
Yeah, the wetland is an area that they will be taking under its with the with the biodiversity park. It's about 92 acres or something like that. But then conservation needs to happen even beyond that. We need to look at all the farmlands that surround this region, at least in the 5 kilometer, 10 kilometer radius. We'll have to work. Otherwise, birds don't come and understand that this is a biodiversity habitat, and so they have to be there. There's no rule like that, right? So we have to take care of the larger region, even if the protection is for a smaller place.
Sir, Vinay wants to ask how have the villagers so far responded to the Sarus project initiatives?
Oh, wonderful. In fact, I sometimes start feeling that I'm not from some part in South India. I'm from Kerala, but I'm almost like, I feel I'm being adopted by the villagers with the number of times I've gone there. I'm invited into homes, and it's a very enthusiastic community of people there. Obviously, initially they were a little worried, but then when they understood the genuinity of the program and the fact that we are here to look after your interest, it's not only about birds. Birds is one thing, but we are also looking at your life, your health, your future. Then that's the time when we were started welcomed into their homes.
That is such a wonderful thing to hear. With this, I'll take up Ravi's question that what opportunities exist for grassroots NGOs to join, develop CSIR supported projects with BHCA for wetland restoration, water conservation, biodiversity education, and community empowerment.
So we welcome all NGOs who are into any area of work. For example, if it's health NGO also, we invite you. We have a health NGO in our partnership. If you are a conservation NGO, then that's even better. But then we want all sorts of developmental areas to be addressed here. So if you can write to me with what you want to do, we'll set up partnerships. This is a world where no single NGO can ever do lasting change. Though I come from one of the largest NGOs in India, like American India Foundation, I had 1,800 employees with a few hundred crores of work. But then even that has limitations. You need partnerships. And here we completely believe in the partnership approach. So you can come to us. What we look at is what you've done and what you want to do. If you believe in our mission, you're always welcome.
So one of the participants wants to ask, is it a wetland or sanctuary? Where can one find the official data for the wetland? Like for Surajpur, the data is with the UP Forest Department.
Yeah, I mean, there are multiple ways you can get that information. You can look at even eBird for the number of birds that congregate in that location. But if you want municipal data or the correct, even if it's a protected wetland, obviously you'll have to approach the forest department. If not, look at the panchayat or the block records.
So, Srinivas Joseph wants to ask that since you are speaking about skills and education of the children, will it be the direct intervention under the projects?
Yes, it's a direct intervention under the projects. We hope to actually bring in many more uh, uh, mini projects into this larger Sarus project. For example, we're looking at the proper skilling. We want to set up a skill, a classroom where various skills can be imparted to the youth. We're looking at even education programs, mainstream education programs. There are about 3 schools, government schools in this vicinity. We want to start bringing in STEM education into those schools and all the good things that we've been doing across the country. All that needs to come into this location. This is a unique human settlement because it is at the intersection of 2 districts. And usually what happens is when any village is in that intersection, both administrations tend to actually forget about that location. And that's what happened there. There are hardly any NGOs working there. And one more thing, this is not only about Dhanauri. We will be soon taking up another area in Gurgaon, the wetlands out there, the Sahibi River wetlands. That's a place worth protecting. That has got a lot of birds migrating in there and even living there. So this is just a first step. And wherever you are as an NGO, we are happy to join hands with you and take on. We have to cover 100. We have to take on 100 such locations in the next 2 to 3 years. So you'll be welcome.
So, since there are many more questions, but because of the paucity of time, I'll be taking a one final question by Mr. Ravi. That in the implementation of the Sarus project, what was the biggest challenge your team faced, and how did you overcome it?
See, my biggest challenge was I'm an expert in development, right? That's been my life, and my environmental learning or training has been less. So when I try to marry development, the regular development with biodiversity protection, it was a very steep learning curve for me. But then at the end of the day, it's not I who do this work. It's a team, right? You got experts in all the areas coming in together. We got NGOs from different fields coming together. It's actually the coordination here. The first challenge that we faced was when we had to talk to the villagers, and once they understood, it was all good. Right now, we have lots of donors also coming forward to support these initiatives. In fact, I had to say no to some, wetland to set up these operations in Gujarat and Maharashtra, which came my way because we want to first develop this as a model in Dhanauri and then expand. So any organizations that are working in other states may also come to us because next year we will be there. I want to announce one small update. We've just received funding for setting up a water unit in this area. So it'll be a RO unit where water will be provided to the community, and we're also providing a chiller and 20-liter bottles where cold water can be stored, because today in this heat, pregnant women, especially pregnant women, are at risk of many problems, and we hope to solve the thirst of the villages very soon.
What a positive note to end this webinar on. Thank you everyone for joining us, and for mostly thank you, sir, for taking out your precious time and leading us through this very interesting webinar. For the participants, To join more such webinars, do not forget to follow our Instagram page. And we definitely cannot wait to see you at the Global Wildlife Fair from 30th October to 1st November at the Travancore Palace, New Delhi. Good evening, everyone. Stay tuned for more such webinars.